Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Thank you so much for being here. Today, I have the most incredible guest. It's a dream come true for me to be sitting here talking with Samantha Leah. She is on my speakers every single day, almost all day, every day. My whole family know every lyric, and it is just a dream come true. And I wanted to first start off this episode with everyone to say that your dreams can come true if you have that courage to go after them. And Samantha Leah is a absolutely incredible artist. She's been in the industry for 7 years, born in New York, currently living in LA, and she expresses her music through taking everyone on a journey through their own spiritual healing and expressing every word in every song on such a raw, vulnerable, and open expression to just this human experience, right? Thank you. Thank you so much for being here with me and sharing your journey and your story. And what we're going to dive into is just, I find, just so phenomenal, but also needed in the world right now, and to help raise the consciousness, raise our frequency, and just share our message with the world. So thank you, Samantha, for being here.
Wow, thank you for having me. I will say your energy is just magical. Like seriously, I'm like I'm like blurry right now. Like, can I see right now?
It's a dream, right? It's a dream, and we get to create it.
Absolutely.
Oh my goodness. It is. It's such a pleasure. And for me, it's like it's my philosophy to life is that you get to create your reality. And I dream big, and I go after what I dream. And it's my mission in life to continue to teach people they can do the same, because we've been clouded over time, right? To dream small and not, you can't achieve, like there's this whole big, idea to life that you can't achieve your personal goals, your dreams. And I'm here to continue to spread the message that you can. So you are a dream for me come true.
So cool. And conversations like these are a dream for me because I can look back at a younger version of me that felt so lonely, thinking that nobody in the entire universe would ever want to talk about these things and I'm crazy and I'll never be able to like show my true self to others. So it's reciprocated.
That is so real. I find I went to uh South Australia, a different state from where I'm currently living, and I did a event. And one of the biggest topics of this event was, have you ever been called crazy? And every one of us, right? It's kind of like if you just simply think differently,
Yeah. If you go
you're
against,
crazy.
yeah. But
Mm.
the funny thing is that if you really look at the normal way of society, actually, it's very insane.
Hmm. I agree.
So then like we come out and we're like, I don't know. I think that maybe if I meditate, like I can connect with my higher guidance and feel better. And then it's like, what? You're crazy. But it's like, but I'm literally just trying to be peaceful. How is that crazy? Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. And so let's dive into that, because for me, it's like I have really, really kept aware from, childhood to keep that magic alive. And sure, there were times within my adolescence that it tried to get clouded and I could see that, but I would love to know and talk into a little bit more on your upbringing and how it was for you.
Right. Well, I've blocked out actually a lot of my upbringing because I feel like I felt that something was so off and that I was so alienated. I just felt so strange. And I thought, why does everyone else seem to be like fine? Why does everyone else seem to be playing the part, going to school, getting dressed up, straightening their hair, starting to put on makeup, liking boys? And I was depressed a lot actually as a teenager. Um, and I always looked to music to cope, but even that was kind of tarnished because when I was actually in theater when I was younger, and when you audition for roles as a young person and you're told no, or you're not good enough, or you're not thin enough, and you're 10, 11, 12, now you took away my way of coping because now I don't even want to sing anymore. Now I don't even want to like be in shows anymore. So, I felt it's like something was wrong. I always felt like something was off. And my parents were great parents, they had their stuff, of course. Um, Later down the line, they got more into spirituality, and that really bled over into my life, and it inspired me, but that was later. My parents weren't like that when I grew up. So I felt very lost, and I started really enjoying partying when I was in my teens and, young 20s. And yeah, I think that I was really trying to dissociate, but through that, I still like kept that light alive. It's like I would be like, taking drugs, whatever. And I most of the time would still be aware through that. So I agree with you in the way that I feel like there was always something that I kept alive in me. And I always really have kept this childlike, fairy-like energy in me alive. But I do feel that through my teens and like younger adulthood, it was a little bit hard. Actually, it was very hard. But I still, I feel like I still kept that light there.
Mm. I love that. I love that there is that awareness even through the struggle, you know,
Mm,
the just life's challenges is just simply about being conscious of there being more, or something is meant to be different, but you're not sure what else. But there's
right.
still that, like you said, there's still that light there. Maybe it's flickering, maybe it's dull, but it's.
Right.
And so did you always know, you mentioned that you did theatre in school. Did you always know that music was your passion, your purpose?
Yes, I did always know that, but um I tried to suppress that part of me because I was very confused after being in um being in the industry as a child and learning to hate it so much.
Mhm.
I didn't understand that it wasn't that I didn't like expressing myself through singing or didn't like writing. That wasn't what it was. It was that I didn't like being judged or told I'm not good enough. But I didn't understand that because I was in my young teens when I went through all of that. And really, the turning point for me was I was 16 years old and I was in a high school program, a performing arts program, and I couldn't take it anymore. I was just like, I am like verging on suicidal because I feel so um I can't take being told I'm not good enough anymore. So I quit that program. And when I quit that program, I was like, okay, I was wrong. This isn't for me. I'm gonna have to figure out what is for me. But I've been singing since my mom makes jokes that like I started singing before I could talk. So it was always there, but yeah, I suppressed it for a long time.
Do you know what a particular significant moment was for you when you actually decided I'm not going to let the voice of others or the judgment of others prevent me from living this purpose, because what it sounds like is that you've always, your soul has always known that this is your way of expressing and being and living, and this is the life that you're meant to do. And after 16 and then moving into the world of adolescence that the majority of the population go through, is the partying. And something must have sparked back up in you. Do you know the significance of that?
Yes. It was my fourth year studying, and I was so unhappy, but I was about to get my bachelor's degree and I was like forcing myself to keep going. And I was heavily listening to Abraham Hicks at that time. And I don't know what it was. I was listening to Abraham Hicks for literally so long. I can go into that, but basically my dad started listening to their teachings when I was like 15. So they had been in my life for a while, but something penetrated. I don't remember what it was, but I remember hearing in my head, if you don't start writing and singing again, you're never going to be happy. So no one knew that I sang. No one knew that I wrote. Like, none of the people I met in school knew that. Some of my childhood friends knew, but like, they were like, oh, that's old her. And I actually posted a video of myself singing on like Facebook. And from there, that's when I was like, oh, okay, something happened here, like something unlocked.
And it's just taking that leap of faith on hearing that thought come in and just noticing, did you ever have a moment, going completely off here, did you ever have a moment where you were like, is that thought mine, or is that like a spirit?
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Especially now.
Yeah.
Especially now. I feel like, who knows how often that thought was trying to come in,
Mm-hmm.
probably through, me not at all paying attention to my guidance, probably so often. But for whatever reason, it was the right moment, the right time, that thought got through. Now I feel like, yeah, I feel like when I receive certain ideas, I'm like, I would never come up with that on my own. That is not mine. And I'm not even going to say that's mine.
Mm, absolutely. It's been a massive part on my teachings at the moment, is getting people to understand that not all our thoughts are our own thoughts. They're our
Mm,
spirit guides, they're our higher selves, they're our connection to source, it's the universe. These downloads and these ideas that come in are our guidance. And that's exactly right. You could have been hearing this, or your spirit guides, the universe could have been telling you this forever, and this human experience, whether it be that cloud, just saying no, this is the path you need to go down to be able to share your story on partying, and then we'll tell you again soon and see if you're ready.
right. Like, honestly, I'm a strong believer in that we do need to suffer in order for us to make the choice to not want to suffer anymore. So I chose that path. I chose to suffer. And because I've experienced so much darkness in that time, I feel that it has made me more capable of talking on that and writing about it, and hopefully helping or inspiring others through their own dark experiences.
Love that. It has been such a real situation, experience, epiphany moment the last couple of months, because within this great awakening, a lot of us are going through what some refer to as the dark night of the soul, which I don't believe it's just one night. I believe it can
Oh,
be a
many a
long
night.
time. But it's
Yeah.
been so real. You know, the darkness recently has been really trying to influence a lot of us to not see the light and not start fulfilling our soul purpose and our reason to be here, which is to expand our consciousness and live like free earth beings. But there is such a necessity to going through the darkness, because if you don't, this is the way that I try and explain it, is when you don't go through the darkness, or when you don't sit into it and surrender to it and just say, I am strong enough to deal with this, then it's like there's a missing gap. You know, for me, I tried to suppress, I tried to block all the darkness, that because I was like, that's negative, I don't want to deal with that. But the moment that I actually surrendered and sat in it and just said, you know what, this is fine, because I know I'm strong enough to deal with it, is the
Yes.
moment that I saw that light. And it's like, you know, that expression is, when you sit in the darkness, that's when you can really see the light. And that's the suffering, but it doesn't have to be as stereotypically hard as we're told, right?
Right. Yeah. I feel like through the years, I've learned that I'm like, okay, there's one thing to experience pain, but there's another thing to really hold on to that pain and create stories out of it. And that is where it really starts to bring you down and not allow you to use it for what it's for.
Mm. I love that, because, you know, it's something that I've always said, because myself, I've gone through a lot of struggle. I've gone through a lot of heartache and grief and loss and trauma and pain. You know, I've gone through it, as a lot of us have, all, if not all of us, because that's a human experience, is to feel all emotions and energy, right? But it's this motto, this little quote that I tell myself every day. When the darkness comes up, when those intrusive thoughts enter, I say, I turn my pain into power, because
Mm.
I know I have a bigger mission here. And I will not fall to the trap of, even though some days I like to throw myself a little lonely pity party, that happens.
Of course.
But I turn my pain into power, right? And I think that if we can continue to share those teachings and use our stories to empower others, then it takes away the darkness of the pain, you know, or the pain of the darkness on the balance level of what trauma can do to our energy and
Yeah.
our the way that we present ourselves and the way that we interact in life, or at least maybe even go after what you want. So it's about changing the script and turning the table, and, you know, realizing that you can do whatever you want now and tomorrow and onwards. So the moment that you realize that within yourself, was that just the moment? Was that just all cylinders going, I'm going to do this, I'm going to chase it, I'm going to get it, this is going to happen for me? Or
Yeah, it was like this is a huge opening, and I feel that it was frightening for me to such a huge degree. And of course, that usually means like you're doing the right thing when, something scares you that much and you do it. I didn't realize the journey that it would bring me on. I could never have comprehended that because, a lot of people that, young artists that are brought into a studio by someone that finds them, like they're kind of their mentor. A lot of artists are mentored in a way. And I really had none of that. Like I did everything. I can never say on my own because I believe that, people are brought into your life that help you in your journey. but I really figured things out without anyone telling me what to do. So that was really overwhelming.
Yeah, I completely agree. And a lot of people that I speak to, when they know that they have a bigger purpose here, I think they feel like they are going through it alone, but they know that they're just not alone. And that's because there's this core belief that everyone that you meet, there is this particular role that they play for your growth and your expansion. And whether it means that you know, and I'd love to jump into the fact that you write your own songs and that, you know, you record, we're going to jump into that in a minute, but it's like you do everything, you know, you do it all because it's your music and it's you to the core. But, you know, being in the industry that you are in and the way that you deliver your music and your story and your journey, there are other people around that help, but because your music is so unique and it's so soulful based and not the stereotypical soulful based, not the traditional mainstream, you know, it is like high frequency soulful based music. Going through that and getting picked up would have felt, in a way, what's going to happen here, but then trusting, and then it happened, and you just continued to trust, or was it done in a different energetic basis, or was there a sense of traditional mainstream music industry direction, or
Yeah, at first I had no idea what I was doing. I posted that video on Facebook, and someone that was a friend of a friend of a friend saw it, and he was a music producer. Again, this is like 7 years ago, 8 years ago, something like that. And he was like, oh, like we should write together. And so we started working remote. Again, I have no idea what's going on. So I was traveling a lot. I would always wind up in random places. Like I really, one thing that I've never been able to do is like really settle into life, like in the way of doing kind of like what I'm supposed to do. Like I never really got a real job. I've always done random stuff for money. Like I've worked in the service industry so many years and just would pop open, like pop somewhere, get a job, whatever. But I really never did what you're supposed to do. And I didn't even realize like that I wasn't doing it. I was just in my own like la 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 la. So whatever. I was like traveling around, working with this guy remote, then randomly met someone else at a party. Like just stuff would happen, but it was such a slow experience. Like I started buying my own microphone, like I bought my own setup at Guitar Center, had literally no idea what I was doing. You know, taught myself how to record myself, taught myself how to produce a little bit. Again, no idea what I'm doing, just going off of experiencing the program and just trying to figure it out. And just years of doing that. And then I did actually fall into a more traditional route where I connected with this studio that was near where I was living at the time. And that was a wonderful experience for me to have because, you know, they were, everyone is doing the best they can, but they were very heavy on like, you have to look this way. You have to do makeup like that. Who are we using as a reference for you? Like what mainstream pop artists are we gonna use as a reference for you and basically replicate you to be? All that type of stuff. And you know, my soul was like, what am I doing right now? But the other part of me, I don't know, there's always been this other part of me that was just like, whatever, I'm along for the ride, kind of. I don't know. I went along with it, not for too long, but then I was just like, I can't even do this anymore. Like this is not for me. Then I met a different artist, a different producer that is from a different country, and we started connecting and we made music, and then that didn't work out. And so it has been not an overnight experience. And I always knew I wanted to infuse spirituality, awakening, healing in the music. But to find someone that to collaborate with, or people to collaborate with, or managers, or people in studios, engineers that understand that, especially years ago, I honestly, I really came to many low points of being like, I thought whatever you could think of, you can create. I thought we create our own reality. What the hell? Like this is not the reality I want to create. But of course, these are things I had to experience and learn. So yeah, it was a very slow process. And through the years, I needed that though. That's the thing. Like to really master your craft, you really need that experience. And I'm so grateful that nothing ever was just like, okay, here you go. Here's a record deal. Here's like a top hit. Because then I don't think I would have gotten to where I am now, where I understand how I like to infuse music with healing. It was not natural to me to understand how to do that. It took a long time to really like understand, how do you make a song sound good, but also like make it have this overarching theme of healing or spirituality or awakening. Like how do you make a song that like maybe could be on the radio and really like hit just a general population, but also is saying something deeper in there? Like I want everyone to be able to listen to this, not just people who are like crystal loving, like spiritual junkies like us. Like I wanted to reach everyone. So I needed those years of learning all of that in order to do that. Oh wait, the sound went out. Uh-oh.
Hello, hello.
Okay, you're back.
Yay. Well, those things happen, don't they? The audio, all of these.
Not surprised. I'm just like,
Yeah.
back.
And you know what? It's so interesting because this happens to me all the time. When my frequency gets higher and we talk about all these things, technology goes,
Oh, yeah. It's almost like when it goes off, you're like, oh, I'm doing something right. Even though it's
yeah.
irritating, it's like,
Mhm.
well, it's
I
something
know.
right.
I think it can sometimes be quite frustrating, but then on the other hand, those that get it will get it.
Oh yeah. People will see it go off and they'll be like, oh, this is a very high vibrational conversation. I know how technology handles those frequencies.
Oh, um, wow. That's what I was saying before it cut out was everything happens for a reason, right? You know, you went through all of that because there were lessons. There was so many things that you learned, maybe who you didn't want to be and how you needed to become who you really knew you needed to be.
Yes. Honestly, how can you be an empowered, confident woman if you don't go through things that reflect back to you that you're not really so empowered? Because I was like, you know, I've always wanted to help others in their confidence. Like I've always wanted to be an empowering, even if my music wasn't so perfectly the way that I wanted it to be, I always still wanted it to be empowering. But through these experiences, it's like, okay, I'm writing empowering lyrics, but then like at the same time, I'm going into a studio where they're telling me like I need to um dress a certain way, and I'm saying, okay, fine. That's not very empowering of me. So I had to have, you can't be completely authentic. Like how could my words be authentic if I'm not living what I'm writing? And I'm by no means confident and empowered all the time, but like I now understand what it truly feels like to be empowered. Whereas then I didn't. I was writing lyrics. And of course, those lyrics were actually teaching me too. It was almost like there was a part of me talking to me like, hey, you're talking to yourself here. Like, you're not just talking to other people. Like, you're actually trying to teach yourself how to be empowered. But yeah, I feel like I had to experience those things in order to actually authentically be writing the way that I write.
It is. It's all about how can we show up, however that is, every single day to be our most authentic self. And that's what you do with your music. And that's all I've ever seen and heard and felt, is that you are expressing the exact epitome of what authentic in every level, every stage, every layer, every lyric is, because it's your way of being and seeing and feeling and experiencing. And then those that listen are going on that incredible wave of your journey and your expression to that. There is so many lyrics within your songs that just, it's kind of like you have just these like enormous one sentences, like these freaky frequencies are elevating me. And I'm like, macaroni. Just get, just like one sentence. I'm like, what the heck? It's like mind blowing.
That was
So
so a reflection of like I wrote that actually around this time last year. So I was definitely feeling into those like Halloween, like spooky energy vibes. And I feel like I'm very connected to the time of the year, the season, like the overall energy of what's going on in the world, in my life. Like it's very reflective of a lot of different things.
yeah, because there is so much meaning like behind all your songs and everything, but like there is these one liners that have just like hit me and landed, and I know for so many other people it would do the same. And it makes our mind go, holy moly, that's exactly what I needed to hear right now. And then it integrates and it makes you have these mind-blowing epiphanies of, it's like it's like you're a master of your craft of lyric writing. And I would love to dive into that. So you write lyrics in your own time when you're just chilling, doing your thing. You get these downloads, connections, you get these words come throughout your daily life, and then you record them in bits and pieces, or you write them down and then you put them together. So how does that all work, and what do you go through energetically when you're creating a song, or do you create multiple at once and then put them together? Or let's talk into that.
Yeah, I it's different at different times. Um, like I love writing while I drive. Just in that state of, focus and, driving has a lot of positives. So for me, it's very meditative. So I do love to write while I drive. But if something like catches my attention, like I'll tell you recently, I was listening to this like carousel circusy orchestral vibe. And again, see, this is where it's connected to also like the season. And I'm like there here, it's like autumn vibes I'm tapped into. And it was just, I heard it and I was like, this is literally incredible. And I'm like, wait, I'm like, this is an orchestral vibe. Like, I don't ever do that. But what I've learned is to just go with whatever the moment is flowing. Like intuitively, I was like, I'm obsessed with this. It's inspiring me. So I wrote a song to this legitimate symphony, honestly. And I'm now working with a person. This is a new relationship that I feel like he he's a producer, so he's been kind of going off of like my vibes. Like my song Self Love was the first song that we made together. And that was just the start of like a new direction for me. And I just, as soon as we finished that song, I was like, oh yeah, like it's on. So it really depends. Like with this orchestral thing that I made, I recorded what I wrote. I recorded it and then I sent it to him. Now he's not hearing it with the music. And now I haven't heard what he's produced with it yet. But our we have a very symbiotic relationship. So it has changed my writing process over the years based on also who I'm working with, because, you know, like Kundalini Energy, I wrote with someone that I used to work with, and we were actually in person. And it had been a while since I worked, because he and I worked remote as well. I've worked remote with most of the people that I've worked with over years. Not all the time, but the last like 3-4 years. And so I was just tapped into the energy of us working together. And like most of the songs that I start writing, I will write within like 10 minutes a lot of the times. So that song was written within like 10 minutes. And again, just tapped into the energy that was happening around that time. And I do receive lyrics like downloads. And I perceive it as a collaboration between me and whatever it is that's coming through. And I haven't really asked many questions about that. I've heard different things from like psychics that have been like, oh, I see blah, 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 blah standing over you, like prominent figures that have now like transitioned. But I don't even know who I'm working with or what I'm working with or whatever. I don't really ask questions because in those moments, I'm completely present. Like it doesn't matter to me because it feels so like I even have the chills now thinking about it. When I'm really on it, it just flies. Like within 10-20 minutes, I just whatever is happening, I write it, and I'm like, okay, this is what it is. Now sometimes I go back and change stuff, but honestly, not often. It just it just happens, and it is a lot of downloaded information.
Your spirits that are around you, or your spirit guides, or wherever your downloaded information comes from, the reality is that you don't just, not one person has just, a couple of spirit guides. Not just one person has a couple of this and that. You are, what it sounds like to me is you just have a pure high frequency connection to source and the universe, and you are collaborating your higher self, your soul's mission, your soul's purpose in this life. So it's like it comes across the whole board of time, space, and dimension being translated into music now from everything and everyone on all layers and levels of the universe.
Right. It's so cool because I don't really think about that often. Like, because it's just so normal to me, you know. It's like someone asking you like or like saying you like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you're tapped into blah blah blah." And you're like, "Wow, I am. That is pretty cool." Like it's just so it's become, you know, it's just so normalized. And I think also just by cleaning up my own vibrational alignment with myself and taking care of myself and caring about the way I feel and actually like standing in my power. Because before I said like over the last few years I've been working remote, but before that I was working, you know, in that studio I told you about where I was working with a producer and we were working together. And again, I was quick with writing. Like writing has always come natural to me, but what was coming out was not as pure. It wasn't as heartfelt. And so I feel like that connection to like being a fast writer and being like very just connected with knowing what I want to say was always there. But the the pure connection with whatever it is that I'm connected to, that only really came when I really catered to me and me, like my alignment with me and my higher me. Until that happened, like, you know, I wrote about whatever, like, you know, wanting to get with a guy, or like, you know, stuff like that, which is cool, which is great, whatever, very great. But like, I know that all of that was in preparation for me to learn how to speak the way I could speak now, how to really say things that actually like people can feel and actually be like, wow, like that actually makes me feel less alone, or like, wow, that actually makes me feel like maybe I am worthy. So yeah, it, again, everything takes time. Like your journey really like teaches you everything you need to know to be whoever it is that you're meant to be.
So that part of your journey sounds very familiar to one of my favorite songs. And I'd love to know when this popped up for you, but the song I Choose Me. When was that? When did that come in? Is that connected to that journey of actually going, you know what, I could go down this route of, you know, being in a studio, having that close, you know, physical connection, or I'm actually just gonna choose me and I'm gonna, you know, was that that divine timing?
Yes, like that was, so that all of the experiences, like those difficult experiences of being in that situation and then leaving it, those things have already, had already happened. But I feel like by then I really integrated it. And then at that moment, I was able to actually express, like, no, like, I mean it when I say that I am actually choosing me this time. Because even aside from music stuff, that goes for just life in general, my relationships with people, seriously being a people pleaser, wanting people to like me, like especially in romantic situations, just being willing to give everything for nothing. And I feel like it all just came together, and it was like in that moment I was ready to actually say that, instead of me again just it not being real. Because if I would have written that 2 years prior, it wouldn't have been honest. But in that moment, it was like, no, like nothing is stopping me from choosing myself right now. I might mess up again in the future,
Mm,
but it doesn't matter, because I will see the pattern happen, and then I will correct it and I will choose myself again.
mm, that song is just so powerful. And the lyrics in that song, it really it makes people realize that, and like you said, that's exactly right, is that it's not just about one thing in life, it's about everything. And like when I listen to that song, it makes me really realize that I have to choose me. Like if I can't choose me in every avenue of my life, then how am I meant to give myself my full self to anyone? And
Yeah.
you know, when you do choose yourself, when you choose yourself, you're actually choosing to give your full expression to those around you.
Yes. It's actually, you know, it's selfless. And not, you know, selfless could be seen as like a negative connotation, but you actually are doing the thing that ensures that you will show up better for others. So you are giving more of your full self to others, actually. Yeah, it's confusing in this world when you're, you know, told if you choose yourself, you're selfish, you're a bad person. And I think it was also like until that moment, I I didn't feel confident enough to actually claim that I choose myself. Like it was too scary. I was too scared to like say that, to claim that, to be willing to actually say like, okay, well, if I say this and I put that out there, that means I really have to like hold myself accountable to this. And that is scary. That's really scary.
It's, am I going to hurt someone? Am I going to make them feel bad. You know, we tend to overthink about how we make everybody else feel, but that song, it really hits people to the core. It hits me to the core and makes me realize, how am I thinking about myself? Like, why am I putting everybody in front of my own feelings, my own emotions, I've got to choose me. And, you know, when you say that you know, went through that integration period, it sometimes does take years to get out of situations where you're like, you know, that wasn't for me and that's okay. And then you move into a place and a space and a phase where you're like, now I can reflect and see it for what it was and the purpose of what it was, rather than maybe the heartache or the complications or the way that they made me feel in the time, like they wanted you to look different and be different and sound different. And then your lyrics were written differently to your true expression. And when it came to that song, you were able to reflect and just say, you know, some people might be jealous and that's okay, you know, but I have to choose me. That those the lyrics that you put together and the way that you do that are just, it's incredible, and it's a mastery, really. But the first song that you wrote with your new producer now, Self Love, that is, would you say that that's been your biggest hit?
It's definitely been the quickest song that has done well.
Mm-hmm.
Because that first Manifesting Magic was like the first song that I wrote that finally connected me to an audience that actually was interested in affirmations and healing and spirituality and awakening and ascension. So that was a huge moment for me. But I see self-love as like the next step, where it took off quicker. And that was actually really scary for me, because I went into a whole different realm of music doing that song. It has an entirely different sound, because of course I worked with someone different, and it had more of like a grittier, dark feminine energy, like more so like in your face. Like, I'm not just like this like hee fairy girl. Like, no, like,
Yeah.
I'm badass. And also, you know, there's like electronic influences in that. And I feel like I actually like put stuff in that song that I love. And like, I would listen to that type of song, but that was really scary for me as well, because I didn't know how people would react to that. But I was very pleasantly surprised. I didn't expect it to do as well as it did that quick.
The way that the self-love song transitions and, you know, takes you through that, like you said, that electrical feel, and then it gets into this really deep bass. It's yeah, it is. It really, it does. It's like the way that my mind goes to my whole journey. It's like you take me on this complete journey of my spiritual awakening roller coaster, because the sounds behind it is like, here, feel this. Oh my gosh, there we go again. And you come back up, and it's like, it's that, for me, it moves me through that acceptance feeling of, I've been through this roller coaster for a reason, and now I'm feeling it again, and everything's coming up again, and I'm okay with it.
Right. I love that. And I feel like it also gives you room to actually breathe. Like, it's not a normal chorus or hook where there's a lot of space there. And for me, I like that, because it gives you a moment to feel instead of just consistently listening to lyrics. Because I'm so into music just as much as lyrics, and I'm so into the feeling of a song and the production and the sound just as much as the lyrics. So I feel that having space in a song gives you that moment to just feel. And that's so cool that for you that comes up. And yeah, maybe it's that space that like allowed you to like go on that ride. And that's why I love that song.
Yeah, yeah. And the enemy that loves that song is because it's that journey that we're really experiencing right now, is to love ourselves. You know,
Right.
we've spent far too long in society to push us in a way to love everything else and then put that upon ourselves. And then we
Right.
move, psychologically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, conscious, everything then influences us to love ourselves because we've done an external reason to make ourselves feel good.
Right.
Strip it away. What is it that you love about you? And that song just does. It takes you on that journey of stripping everything away and putting yourself back down to that core root of who you are.
Right. Right. And I feel like another thing about that song is I feel like we can so easily go to our friend and be like, oh my God, you look like a goddess today. Like to everyone else and be like, oh my God, you're so pretty. Like you look amazing. But then look in the mirror and be like, like this, I don't love me. I don't think I'm beautiful. And then to get to the point where you look in the mirror and you're like, well, maybe I am worthy. Maybe I am beautiful. But then to actually announce that to the world and be okay with being confident, that has been a fear for me because I've always been scared of actually like being allowed to be comfortable in my skin and showing up and being scared that like, oh my God, like girls are going to hate me because like I am confident in who I am, because I'm not talking down on myself, like because I actually love me. And I feel like we all have to just get to the point where we really do all, we love ourselves so much that we're happy when we see others love themselves.
Yeah, because there is no competition, right? We're all just healing. We're all just on this experience. We're all just trying to find a way to express love. And yeah, I feel like it's something that so many people need to hear us talking about. So then we can really come to terms with, these thoughts are going to come up. And it's not about not having the thoughts, it's about how it is that you, in your own time, deal and manage those thoughts and not worrying about what other people are going to think. Because if your reality is influenced by your thoughts, your emotions, your energy, and your perception, and you love you, then aren't you just projecting all those other people around you to love themselves too? So energy's felt on such a core root, and it's about quietening those voices that say, and the part in the song where it's like, hey, thoughts, you really think that you can, influence me? And I just, when I listen to that, I'm like, I listen to that part and I look up and I'm like, all these thoughts look like this big, when you draw something and you draw that thought speech bubble. And I'm
Yeah.
like, that's literally what it feels like. And all these like, you're shit, you're dumb, like those thoughts that I'd heard, I'm like, you're not going to do this to me anymore, because
Right.
that's not who I am. I've learned how to overcome those and quiet them. Just quiet.
Yes.
Yeah. It's so needed. It's so needed in this world. I feel a lot of people are going through a lot of struggles in life. And if we can just raise a society of learning how to love thyself, then you will start to attract those around you that you love and that then love themselves.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I would love to talk into, we had a little chat before we started recording, and I'd just love to talk into. I mentioned that I have a connection to the Galactic Council of Light and Starseed Tribes, and you shared some things with me, and we didn't go too far into it because I just really wanted to get it and share it with everyone. But your journey within this higher dimensional realms and spaces, I would love for you to just tell everyone again your experiences and your journey within the multidimensional realm.
Right. Well, we were talking about, I told her about how I was really connected to this channeler over the years. And this channeler, his name, by the way, is Daniel Scranton. I don't know if you know him, but
Yeah,
he channels. Do you?
I'm almost certain I've heard of him, actually.
Yeah, I feel like you would be into it. It's very so yeah. So I'm very far into like weird, well, what I don't think is weird at this point, but like what others would probably proclaim as weird. I'm into alien stuff, um, angels, like I'm open to everything. My father is very heavily in these other realms, and he actually is a quantum healing hypnosis therapist.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I forget the words, but he takes his clients through other lifetimes. And when I tell you there's no limits, I mean, like, literally, someone could be a star and they could be speaking from the perspective of their lifetime as a star. So my dad and I have kind of like developed this bond of like, we'll talk about anything. So this channeler, he started, actually, we've known who he was for a while because we actually met him at an Abraham Hicks seminar that I went to with my dad literally like 15 years ago. It was something insane. But it was at that point that this channeler literally like got chosen to ask a question, and he was like, I want to start channeling. And so now he's actually been channeling for so long. And so we like started doing sessions with him, and he channels the Arcturian Council. And like, I mean, literally my conversations with them have been incredible. Like, even like, I mean, I asked them, like, my friends were dealing with health issues, and I asked them like, hey, like, what supplements would be good for them? And you can't even make it up. Like, my friend Emily, it wasn't even like a health issue. She was just interested in like, hey, what like supplements might be good for me? And she always sees bees in her backyard. And like, for whatever reason, she always talks about how she's the bee woman, she's the bee queen. And like, I asked this question and they're like, oh yeah, she should be taking bee pollen. I didn't say any of that stuff about like how this connection she has with bees. So like, stuff like that. Like, they told me to start using black seed oil, and like it took away so many of my issues. Just incredible stuff. So I have a connection for sure with the Arcturian Council, but I am very connected to the Syrians because I firmly believe that I'm a Syrian starseed. And there's different things about me that I've always wondered. Like, for instance, I feel my flexibility comes from there because I can go for like a long time not doing yoga or not stretching. And I'll go like, weeks go by or months, whatever. And then I like go to do a split, and it's like, I'm just flexible. And I feel that comes from there, and just different connections to like different realms. I don't know. There's so much, but my father and I talk about anything and everything. So, I mean, we could literally talk about anything. He's he's been a very prominent figure for me, feeling like comfortable with being allowed to be like, wait, like I like really believe that I'm this. Like, so yeah, like I'm down to talk about anything.
Does your father channel different galactic beings or starseed origin? Does he himself channel and relay information to you on a daily, or is it random spurts of downloads, or what's it like?
It's just random. Like, I've seen him go into full channels. Sometimes I call him. Like, a few weeks ago, I had a weird thing with my ear, and like he uses his pendulum a lot. He's very into his pendulum, and like he'll work on my chakras from, like, we live on like separate coasts right now, but like he'll work on my chakras. Like his form of channeling isn't so much like, I'm sitting here and I'm channeling this being. I feel like he can do that, but I feel like, I don't know, he's such a wild person. Like I feel it's just dependent on where he is. He loves sacred site work. And so, you know, sometimes like he'll go to a sacred site. He's been doing work around different countries, and he'll feel into a spirit that wants to say something. And it's like it's like some crazy stuff. So yeah, he and I both, like, we both know of a memory of uh us being in a different place and him actually getting stuck in a spaceship, and that's where his claustrophobia comes from, and I saved him. Like I pulled him out of the spaceship, and so I have a little bit of claustrophobia as well. And so we talk about like all this type of stuff.
So interesting. I also have a memory like actually, and claustrophobia too.
Maybe you were there too. Like I wouldn't be surprised, honestly. I really wouldn't be. I really wouldn't be.
That's crazy because I have been channeling. I've been channeling the different starseed families and beings for, only about a year and a half now, very consciously. Prior to that, I've been, whenever I tap into different realms, because I'm a psychic medium and I have access to the Akashic records, I can see and experience things out of this world. But only within the last year and a half, I've been really tapping into. I've had starseed beings just show themselves when I'm following this massive Palladian spirit guide who, she just popped up and I was like, oh, I've never had any, experience with that. I've just really previously to that connected with dead people, or
Right.
people's higher selves doing like psychic readings. But when this massive blue alien looking, being just popped up in front of me. I was like, whoa, what are you doing here? Who are you? And then she pretty much, I saw her just touch my forehead with her thumb and then just showed me everything. And I was like, who's that? Who's that? Who's that? And I was in the middle of the galaxy and I was just like, who are all these people? And there was like the Arcturians, Syrians, the Lyrans. I was like, what the heck is going on? So I was sitting right here like this. And I was like, okay. And then she kind of like dropped me down. And I was like, what was the reason for that? And then now I see her. So whenever I look in the mirror or I can, astral project and I can see her behind me. And I also have experience on being taken and teleported to the massive galactic council of light, what we would describe as like the spaceship, but it's just the home, the home just above, outside of Earth's barrier. Taken up there and told things about the human consciousness and the evolution on why we're all here and all that sort of stuff. Sacred information, which I do relay when they give me permission to do so. But does your dad or do you, or is there anything that pops up for you when it comes down to receiving information on the human experience or the collective consciousness or the remembering, the remembering of, I follow Dolores Cannon, and she has this, she's mentioned this thing about how, we're put here. One of the purposes as to why we're put here is to remember who we were before this experience. And I love getting people's insight and advice for anyone that could be listening, or your experiences on what that is like for you to remember?
Hmm. Hmm. I feel like it's so interesting for me because I feel like I receive a lot of information sonically. Like lyrics will pop into my head and they'll tell me things, or downloaded lyrics. And I feel like my connection with music is where I tap into my spirituality. Whereas my dad has a lot of experiences that you're talking about where like he'll literally be like, yeah, I didn't sleep last night. There was just a huge vortex on top of me and I was staring at it all night. I slept for an hour. Or like he'll have a being in the room, or you know, like he's right now he's desiring so badly for the ship to land, like, you know, because everyone talks about whatever, like the ship's landing. And he has been told that he has children that, you know, are his and that they're coming. So, like, my dad is very connected in a way where he's very visual. He I don't know if you've ever been or heard about like the Vipassana meditations. It's like there's like a 10-day retreat. It's not really a retreat. It's like a hardcore meditation practice where like you are sitting in practice for like 10 to 12 hours a day and you're there for like 10, 11, 12 days. It's like very intense. And I did it and it brings up crazy stuff. Like you just really see the darkness in your own mind. But I brought that up to say like my dad did it and he went into like create like an actual psychosis because he's just so visual. So I feel like for him, he has a lot of visual experiences. For me, it's more sonic. And I feel like I don't know a lot about, you know, past lives of mine, or, you know, when you say remember who you are, I feel like I'm just so feeling based and so tapped into just sonics and music. And I feel like that's the way that I'm learning who I was or who I am and who I always will be. And I mean, uh, when you really go through all of the stuff, like there's so much complexities. Like we can talk about angels, like we can talk about like other realms, we can talk about dimensions, we can talk about, you know, intergalactic stuff. But I just feel I just feel like when I'm in my purpose and when I feel in flow, I feel like that's who I am. And I feel like that's when I am remembering who I was. And I feel like when I'm not connected to that purpose and when I'm not writing or when I'm not into the music, I completely am detached from my connection to all that is and my connection to who I was, who I am. And so, yeah, I don't know. I know, like I said, a million like random stuff, but like it's so hard to, I feel like, answer that question for me because I feel like it's such a, I don't know, like sometimes I even feel weird with the weird people.
Yeah.
Like I feel like even in the Starseed conversations, I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like I just need to write music.
Yeah.
Like I literally don't know any, like I that is my gift. Like I don't, you know, there's so many gifts that I believe will appear to me. Like, you know, people see auras and people like are tapped into the Akashic records and people are channeling different beings. And I don't know what I'm doing, but the only time that I feel like completely connected to all that is literally in those moments writing music.
I love that because I feel like it is just the epitome of being present, right? It's not getting caught up in the complex of what could be and what is and what this and what that. You know, it's about knowing that you are here and you are enjoying. It's a
That's
sound.
the thing.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I was just getting my nighttime. I don't know why it got dark already. It's not. I don't know why my nighttime shift came on, but yeah, I feel like that's something that I've always had a very natural ability to do, which is be present. And those were always the teachings that I was really connected with. Like you know, I talk a lot about like manifesting and learning how to create your reality and all of these things. But for me, learning how to be present trumps everything
Yeah.
because that's where you're free. And
Mm.
so there are so many cool things to learn about and so many things that I'm into and so many books to read on dimensions and like and I it's cool, amazing stuff. But I feel like I'm just happiest with like my notebook and my pen and just being completely present.
That is a massive thing for a lot of us. And, just really talking about myself, I'm a mum of two. I have a partner, I have a whole life that I do outside of everything. And, it is those moments that I have to stop. I have to actually consciously say, stop getting so caught up in all of this. Sometimes when I'm channeling or when my guides are connecting and all that woo-woo stuff, I'm like, no, 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 it's okay because I have to be present. I am a human being living this experience right now for a reason. If I was meant to live in this higher dimension all the time, I wouldn't be in this physical vessel. And so that's been one of my latest massive healing phases is just to be present. And it's so necessary, far more than any Palladian I could talk to. Do you know what I mean? Like
Absolutely.
we have
Yes.
to.
Yeah. And I think that I've learned over time that simplicity is key. Like there's a reason why that is a saying. And who like Eckhart Tolle has really been one of my favorite teachers because his whole teaching is about present moment awareness and like it just took long for me to even understand what that meant. And I love teachers who give practical examples. Like I remember him, I'll never forget, like I remember hearing one time he talked about how when we're washing dishes, like are you actually washing the dish or are you playing stories in your head and thinking about everything else? Because it's these tasks that we're doing, but are we actually in the moment doing them? Or when you're brushing your teeth, are you actually feeling the bristles on your mouth and your teeth? Or are you thinking about what you're going to do tomorrow? And that for me, that is that has been the most important thing for me to learn, which of course seems like, oh wow, really? Like of all the cool things to learn in the world, like you're just going to learn how to like pay attention to the bristles on your teeth when you brush them. But we live in such a fast-paced, complex world. So when you actually hone into those things, those simple things, those tasks that we've been doing for so long as humans, like even, even if you decide to just like wash your clothes by hand and put them up, you can really follow those moments of what you're doing in each moment. And you will see how your mind does not like to focus on the task at hand. Like that will show you exactly like where your mind really just doesn't want to be in the present moment. And I feel like that was the most important teaching for me.
That is one of the biggest teachings. I resonate so much with that because that is one of my biggest teachings as well, is to just simply become conscious of your life in this moment. If you can think about, if you can detach from the, you know, when you were saying, are you washing the dishes now, but thinking about what you have to do tomorrow, or are you brushing your teeth and focusing on your now and not thinking about everything else, is like, the reality is that we are, whether you know, we're living a freedom lifestyle, or we've been able to co-create our reality, we don't have to follow the rat race, or we're, you know, implementing methods and ways to exit the matrix and live our life of fulfillment and joy, we still have to deal with our thoughts. And our thoughts are, I'm brushing my teeth right now because I'm in a rush to go to the shops, or I have to get my kids to school, or I have to clean the house, or I have to do this. And it's like, what you have to do right now is just focus on you and think about yourself. And that to me is what I teach people as the primary focus of psychic development, is because once you can become aware of your consciousness, that's when you tap in to the collective consciousness, because there is no, it's not loud, you know, there's not noisy, it's quiet and it's now. And that practical examples is a very massive epiphany that we struggle with.
Because we want like some big news, like, oh, like, but wait, like just pay attention to the sponge on the plate. That's gonna help me tap into the collective consciousness. Are you kidding me right now? Like, I thought you were gonna tell me some crazy light language to like get my consciousness elevated. But yeah, and again, you were talking about making it more quiet, and just going back to what we were talking about when we started, about how I was probably receiving information about like, hey, like, please, like, you need to start writing, you're not going to be happy. You need to start writing, start singing, you're not going to be happy. And because I was so bombarded with thoughts so consistently, I didn't have access to that intuition. And so that I completely agree with, like, focusing on the present moment right now and actually like doing what you're doing in the moment and not being somewhere else. That's what clears you and gives you access.
Right? And it's not about the complexity. And that's the truth. You know, it's about the now and the present and the moment and the way that you allow yourself to be. And a couple of months ago, I was transitioning and evolving the business. And I said to a couple of my clients, I was like, I think I'm going to start being like the simple psychic. I was like, I don't want to be all this. I can say all this, but I just need to be simple psychic. And they're like, I don't know if you should do that. And I was
Right,
like,
because
the
we're all
thing
like,
is, yeah, yeah. But the thing is that it is all so simple. It's simple.
it really is.
We all have access to everything, but it's about your journey, your purpose, your mission, the way that you experience it, the lessons, the teachings, the healing, you know, the things that you yourself think, feel, believe. And we don't have to be and do all of this. If we can just sit in and be simple and accept who it is that we are and the way that we show up in the world and want to live our most true and authentic journey for ourselves, that's what's going to make the most impact on those that are attracted to your energy anyway.
Absolutely. I feel that honesty is such a high vibration. Honesty with yourself, with others. And I mean, it's no wonder why it's so hard for us. The world we grow up in, most of us, a lot of us, is, there's constant distractions now more than ever.
Yeah.
And honestly, we really do learn to not be honest, to not speak up, to not really, it's like we really do have this mask on. And so it's a journey to realize and actually experience how simple it can be, because we really are born and raised in this world of complexities, just wearing so many hats, like, oh, I need to be this person around these people, and I can't say how I feel about this person, and I can't say that I want to write music or that I'm a psychic, because that person's going to like shun me, and my mom is going to tell me that I'm worthless. Like, there's so many things that we deal with that it's like amazing, and it like blows my mind that so many of us have even come to this place of being able to recognize how powerful we are and actually feel love for ourselves, because we've really gone through a lot of the opposite. So we are powerful for getting to this place.
Absolutely. This great awakening is kind of forcing us to go back within, right? And one of my beliefs that have started to really take place over these last couple of years is it feels like we've been sent to our room like a 2-year-old to relearn how it is that we want to be. Because throughout the whole human history is that we've been taught how we should be.
Right.
And now it's like these last couple of years we've been like, but I don't want to be like this. I don't want to do that. And we've been starting to learn how to express the energies from within rather than, going through, say, the schooling system that teaches you teaches you what to think, not how to think. And
right.
It comes up from within this last year and this major consciousness expansion. We're starting to realize who we want to be in this life, how we want to perceive the world and the people that serve us, or the things, the environment, the surroundings, the activities, and that we don't have to, so a lot of us are starting to realize we don't have to live in the way that society has conditioned us previously to live, and that you can co-create and manifest and dream again.
You're allowed,
Yeah.
like, give yourself permission to actually ask yourself who you want to be, and to be willing to hear what that answer is. Because I feel like so many of us are even scared to ask and scared to look at the things that we've suppressed, the natural gifts that we've been born with. Because again, yeah, we've just been led into the other direction. We've not been taught how to follow our intuition. And it's like a journey back to learning how to follow our intuition.
Yeah. It's a beautiful and crazy and wonderful and insane,
Wild.
overwhelming journey to go back within, right? And I would love to know what, throughout your whole journey, through everything that you've gone through, for everything that you are going to, in the future achieve and do, what would be like the core root piece of advice that you would give someone that may be going through a deep spiritual awakening and maybe struggling to realize their purpose, their passion, their desires, and how to dream again?
I feel like when you're struggling, the best thing to do is to stay in a place of what makes me feel good now, or what is a simple general intention I can hold for myself. Maybe I shouldn't hold myself to the intention of, today I'm going to figure out exactly how I want to make money in a new career for the next 50 years of my life. Like, maybe instead the intention could be, how about I, as frequently as possible, remind myself to choose the better feeling thought? Or how about today I count all the things that I walk past that made me feel good? And just staying in that area of the least possible resistance, because I feel like when you go to those detailed questions too quickly, you're just digging yourself deeper and into a dark rabbit hole. And like, if you're just quitting your job and you're jobless, and then you go straight into like, okay, today I'm going to figure out exactly what I'm going to do to that, where this career path is going to be what's good for me and my greater purpose, but it's also going to make me money. Like, maybe that's not the best place to start when you're already in a place of kind of like struggling, or, you know, right on the edge of jumping into that dark rabbit hole. Because yeah, you gotta, once you're in that dark rabbit hole, you know, sometimes you have to just ride it out. So if you're right on the edge, maybe the best thing isn't to focus on something that reminds you that like you're broke and you're not making any money right now. Like, maybe instead walk outside and like write down all the times that you like saw different birds, or like just something that brings you into a good feeling, but isn't about the thing that you're freaking out about.
Yeah. So that alone creates magic and manifestation. And it's about expressing the gratitude that you have of life, and being alive, and being able to feel emotions even in the dark times, and then just giving gratitude, choosing the next best good thought is something that I have landed and is part of my consciousness now from listening to Gabrielle Bernstein. And she says, stop and choose again, choose the next best thought. And sometimes it does, and it takes us straight back to the simple way of being, right? Is just, we're always going to be faced with adversity and resistance and struggle. And it's about, how can you actually just stop and go, this is all happening for me, not to me. I'm going to have an attitude of gratitude, and just do something that brings joy. Because the more, and that's the same with manifesting, right? The more joy and gratitude and love and abundance that we sit in, the more the universe will bless us for reasons to feel like that.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Gratitude is so important. And I feel like I didn't fully understand, it's different when you hear things versus when you actually apply them and experience them. Like, you can, of course, we've all heard gratitude is the attitude, and just how important gratitude is. People write in their gratitude journal, but it really is, for me, the sure way for me to stay in a higher vibration. Because there's always, no matter what you're going through, it does not matter. There is always something that and more than one thing. There's always many things that you can just give your conscious attention to that you are grateful for in that moment. And it's a choice. Like you were just saying, that quote, it's really a choice. So if you're focusing on the things that you're going through that aren't working out, if you could just pivot and actually recognize the things that you do experience in your life that are there to be grateful for, you just literally shifted your consciousness.
Yeah. It reminds me of a quote that I like to say when I talk about the secret, right? Is a lot of people in my community, or a lot of people that I talk to, are like, yeah, I've seen the secret, but I don't know if it works for me. I don't get it. I don't understand it. And, there are two things that I say is that sometimes you can watch a movie one time, the second time you watch it, and you'll see things and hear things you didn't the first time, and then the third time and the fourth time. And that's because sometimes things don't land and they don't integrate the first time. It doesn't take place. It just sometimes just goes over your head because, you could be sitting there watching a movie and thinking about what you have to do next over the next couple of days. It's like when you drive and you get to a place and you think, how did I get here?
Right. Like, where was I?
Yeah, you just two in your head, right? And the what I say about the secret is the missing key is action, because the law of attraction is action. And sometimes
Yes.
action doesn't need to be, going out there and applying for 1,000 jobs in hope that you're going to get a job tomorrow. Maybe that action could just simply be becoming conscious and aware of your mindset right now. And that action can be focusing on how to raise your vibration, how to be in the present moment. And I love that that is like your go-to, your main for giving people advice, because it's so in alignment with the way that I would give people that next step forward. It's what I would say, and it's my belief on how to just simply help people is focus on you today, and tomorrow be 1% better. And if you can just do things that bring you joy, that's the purpose of life, is to be happy.
Absolutely. Like, simplify it.
It feels so funny because it's so complex, because a lot of people don't know how to do that, but that's the reason why it's the main thing to do.
Right. And it's actually like when you have that intention, it's like when you sit down to meditate, like the first time, and actually it's like you're doing the most simple thing ever. You're just sitting there focusing on your breath, but you're being bombarded with chaos. And so that chaos is happening anyway, but you're becoming now aware of it. So it's like when you think about, like, say, if someone heard this and they're like, okay, I'm going to actually like focus on when I brush my teeth tonight, I'm actually going to like focus on brushing my teeth. But then you realize, like, in doing that simple thing, you realize, oh, wow, like I have a lot of chaos going on in my mind right now. And it's actually really hard for me to shut it off. I feel like it's something like simplicity. It's like how the quiet brings out the noise.
It really does. It's the chaos, the juicy chaos. I find it really fascinating, to be quite honest, because I used to, but now I don't give in to the chaos. Whenever I hear it and feel it and, can see it, I'm like, I'm going to turn my chaos into consciousness, and it's like that pure, but some people can't when they don't have that awareness, because
Right.
there's those, connecting dots where when you become aware of your chaos, then you connect it to your consciousness, and then you set an intention to quiet the chaos. And it's like, it's not easy, but as long as we become really intentional on the thoughts that we have are our choice. That's our choice. So if we can just choose again, it's all
And
happening.
today, tomorrow is a new day. If your day was filled with, you know, you going down that rabbit hole, which we've all done, and spent the entire day in anxiety or fear or whatever form of darkness, tomorrow, maybe you can take even just a small step into the direction of the light, into the direction of the awareness. Maybe you have those chaotic thoughts, but now you're observing them. And now you're questioning, well, are all these even real? Because my chaotic thoughts are telling me that I suck and that I'm better off dead. Like, I don't think that that's true.
No.
So what's going on here? And I think it's a lot of questioning. And I think also for me, I've always spent so much time alone. And I feel that that has been a huge help for me. I actually love spending time alone. And I know a lot of people, you know, a lot of people fear spending a lot of time alone, but I think that that has been the way that I've been able to be curious about my mind and how it works, and just to be able to observe it instead of like, you know, we're already been being bombarded all the time by like our phones. So if I can just now spend more time alone and not be also bombarded with consistent noise around me, just taking like, just finding that time for myself. I feel like that's where I really like inquire about, well, why am I like why are my thoughts racing right now? And what like if I'm like speeding, I keep going back to like these tasks, but it's like if I'm like doing the dishes, like what am I racing for? Like why am I trying to finish these really fast? And what do I feel like why do I feel like I have to rush? Like, why do I feel like I always need to be working? Why do I feel like I'm not good enough unless I complete this or reach that goal? I just feel like you can just start to observe the way that you do things. And when you start to ask, why do I do it this way? Then you really receive a lot of answers. But you have to be willing to, and you have to be courageous.
The courage in tapping into your own confidence really was a part of my journey of being alone too. And although I used to fear, I really, really used to fear my own company, because I had this thought that if I was alone, I was lonely.
Mm.
And I came to realize that if you're alone, it doesn't mean you're lonely.
No.
And if I, why, and I became so curious, so willing to ask myself, why did I feel lonely when I wasn't lonely because I was with myself? And then I actually came to realize that I just didn't like myself. I did not love who I was. I didn't like my own company. And so that's why I had moved. It was uncomfortable, it was boring. I was no one to talk to. Like, I made up all these stories. And once I truly got to the core of, I didn't love me enough to enjoy me. Once I understood that, and I started to figure out what I liked doing, because I didn't know. I didn't know, did I like, what music did I like listening to, or did I just listen to music because I was around other people that decided to listen to music? Or did I want to watch that movie? Or did I want to go for a walk? Or did I just do that because I was with other people? And
Right.
once I truly actually started to realize, like, what do you like doing? And doing those, implementing the things that I like doing, that's when I realized I was never lonely. I was just alone. And moving into that self awareness, that self reflection, that self love, the self healing, the becoming me was realizing what it is that I like because I like it, not because someone else likes it.
Right. And that's why it's so important to spend that time with yourself and ask yourself those questions. Like, am I, you know, wanting to go into this career because I want to, or because I was pressured to, or because I heard my mom tell one of our family friends, that she was so proud of me because I was going down that career path. Like, you start to ask yourself questions about everything you do, like literally everything. Like, why do I feel like I need to like cover up my blemishes when I go out? Like, do I feel like I'm worthy without makeup? Like, I just feel like when you have those moments with yourself, you can really start to ask questions about everything you do. And like you said, when you start to realize, oh, I just actually didn't like myself, you really need to come to that conclusion to make a change. Like, you need to recognize what needs to be changed to make a change.
Yeah. And I wasn't, it was, this for me was over a decade ago, well and truly over a decade. Um, and it was so uncomfortable. I remember being put in a situation where I was noticing I was depending and relying on being surrounded by people. And it was hard, but I was willing to not have to live my life for other people, because in that moment I didn't realize that. I just thought, I'm a really outgoing, interactive extrovert, this is who I, and I had accepted that's who I was. But then, over the continuous cycles of healing, I came to realize that, like, I'm allowed to love things that nobody else loves. I'm allowed to, or it's not that nobody else loves them, but, like, for me, I don't need to explain and justify. And when you say you're busy, and people say, oh, what do you do? If they invite you somewhere, right, and they say, oh, what are you doing? You're like, I'm just chilling by myself. It's like, without explaining or feeling, guilty or bad that
Right. Guilt
you
is a
yeah, guilt and shame, and can come from fear. And because I worried, I became caught up in that fear after the enjoying my own company phase, and it goes around again. And I remember moving into a phase where I felt fear and guilt and shame for letting people down and for making people feel bad, or having to explain to them, oh no, actually, like, I've got work, or I'm a bit buggered and just want to chill at home. Or there's sometimes you don't have to do that, and sometimes you
right.
can just do you without the pressure.
Yeah. Yeah. Even you saying that, it's like bringing up, I remember just feeling so uncomfortable if I had to like cancel a plan. Like, I literally would feel I was the worst person ever. Like, I can't do that. And
Mm.
just make it such a big deal. And yeah, I just can see how it all stemmed from worthiness, and how it's like, oh, well, if they canceled on me, I would completely understand. Like, it's like, no, I get it. Of course, like, I would never get mad at you. But why am I so down on myself if like I don't feel good and I really would prefer to not go out? Why am I so down on myself about wanting to cancel this plan? And why do I feel so bad and like feel like the worst person? And yeah, there's just so many layers to recognizing the patterns that we have and being honest about them. And I feel like it's constant, and that's not a bad thing either. I feel like, yeah, I will always be healing, most likely in this lifetime. Probably most likely, we've been through so much, we've been through so much programming. Yeah, and that's okay. Like, we're stripping it away and we are healing. But I feel like I'm at a point where I really enjoy the process, and I enjoy life. Like, I don't focus so much on like, okay, let me open my journal today and talk, like figure out what I need to heal today. I feel like life shows you what you need to heal when you're meant to see it. And I feel like honestly, all of us as like starseeds and light workers and people that are actively raising the consciousness of the planet, we need to understand that we're allowed to enjoy life. Like, we are allowed to not consistently focus on healing every second and like figure out what is the next thing that we need to manifest. Like, what is the next like layer that I need to like unravel about how I fully feel about myself, and like when is the next ego death that I could have. Like, I just feel that we are allowed to enjoy being a human.
Right. It's so funny, isn't it? Because even just the spiritual journey itself, and a lot of spiritual teachers and a lot of the spiritual community talk about all the things that we can do and should do and have to do, and the things that will pop up. And it does get too, it's too, sometimes too much. And I, I read this quote a while ago where it was a professor asking his students what they want to be when they grow up. And one of the students said a police officer, another one said a firefighter, another one said a teacher, and one of the students said, "I just want to be happy." And the teacher said, I don't think you quite understand the question." And the student said, "I don't think you quite understand what life, the meaning of life is you just
Gee,
want to be happy."
literally. And again, that's back to simplicity. It's like, why can't that be my answer? Why can't I choose to be happy, and then whatever is meant to come of that will? That is how I will choose what I want to be. I think we're forced so young to answer questions about what we want to be. Like, oh yeah, go choose when you're 17 years old where you're going to college and what your major is. Like, you haven't even experienced life yet. Maybe some people will make the correct choice and choose the thing that they actually want to do for the rest of their lives. But how about actually allow yourself to find your joy, and then from there make those decisions, and also recognize that that might change because you're constantly changing. Maybe you love what you do for work right now, but maybe in 10 years you find a different path. There's nothing wrong with that.
Just being open to knowing that you're being divinely guided, you know, that everything is playing out exactly the way it's meant to, and that life, that you made a choice to come here, and that you have full full control and responsibility, ownership on the way that you perceive it. Whether or not the paths that you take were already co-signed, in your contract before you came here. It's just about knowing that your thoughts, your emotions create an energy, which then that frequency and vibration creates your reality, and you're manifesting everything anyway. But how are you going to feel about it? How are you going to just become one with knowing that you are here for a reason and everything's happening for you, just to simply go through the school of life? It's
Mm-hmm.
it's pretty phenomenal. I I have just loved sitting here and talking to you, and I feel like this has been just such a spiritual expansion and journey itself.
I feel like I'm going to stand up and like fall. Like, I feel like I'm gonna just be like, whoa. Like,
Oh, I
yeah,
love it.
this is seriously like, and I mean this even though it's so corny, but it's like, in the dark moments that we all experience, like I will say, in those dark moments where I'm just like, I don't understand why I'm here. Like, seriously, F this. Why did I choose to come here?
Mm.
These moments for me make all of that worth it, because it showed me like you did it. Like you got to the point where you can be having a conversation like this, and this is like all you've ever wanted. This is what you always believed in, but it just never happened for so long, but you still forced yourself to continue to believe that it would be possible to like sit here and have a conversation like this and not feel like a freaking maniac. And so this is like huge. And I'm just grateful to be on the planet when these moments are happening and when they're starting to happen more and more. And even through all of the chaos and the pain and how hard it is to be a human, the fact that we get to do this and be like pioneers of a new era is like seriously epic.
The truth, right? And I love that we can connect with such like-minded people, just human, just connect with people that, whether or not you've gone through, years of telling yourself, I can't talk to that person like that, or I can't bring up this topic, or, this person's going to call me crazy, or, you sometimes filter, the thoughts that go on. And it's like, it just becomes so, in a way, surreal, but yet so real. Like that, it's a very divine balance there when you have conversations and talk about things. This conversation with you, I've talked about things that I've never said ever, and it's like,
Yeah.
that alone has made me feel not just reassured, and not just confident. It's not just like confirmation, but it's like clearly messages that the collective need to hear, because it's so unscripted, so unfiltered. It's just a conversation, and we are helping the consciousness go to places where we right now might not even realize.
Yeah. Like, what are the ripple effects of a conversation like this? We don't even know. So cool.
I love it. I feel like I could just talk to you all, because I feel like you and I have just such similar thoughts, similar beliefs, similar outlooks, perspectives. We really, it's like that. It's just that real conscious truth on just being. And I just want to thank you so much for being here and expressing everything that you've shared, everything that you have given, and the way that, because I know that there are a lot of people that are going to watch this and put you on that pedestal, because you are incredible and as you deserve to be. On the other hand, I just want everyone that is listening to know that to achieve your dreams and to live a life of fulfillment, you are still human, right? And it's like, we all come here to just be free and live. And a lot of people might be watching this thinking, yeah, I'm feeling this, I'm going through that, and that's great, and I would love to do that, but it's impossible, or chase your dreams, and all sounds great, but
Right.
it's so possible.
Yeah. And baby steps to anyone that's in a place that they're just like, chase your dreams. What? Like, I have negative $500 in my bank account and I'm about to get kicked out of where I live. Chase your dreams. No way. Not happening. But your dreams being chased, that is not like one day thing. That is a constant choice. Like, and there really is no ending of your dreams being chased. There is no final result of that. So it really is baby steps. And it is hard when you're in those darker places to believe that, but I believe that we're all in the journey that we're meant to be on, and we're all in the moments that we're meant to be in. And slowly but surely, people are seeing. And maybe that means like you need to spend 10 more years in a job you hate. Maybe that is what that means for you. And that's okay, because when those 10 years are complete, you might be standing there and you might say, wow, like I actually can't continue this anymore. So let me go back to those dreams that I suppressed 10 years ago when I thought about it again, when they popped back up in my consciousness. And let me like seriously take this seriously. So there is no correct age. There is no correct time in your life. You can be in any moment of your life. You can be 100 years old and just decide, wow, like I really loved painting my whole life, and let me start painting again. And who knows, like your video is probably going to go viral on TikTok because you're 100 years old painting, and you're going to start selling that stuff. And there's just no right way of doing anything. So if you're in a dark place and you're hearing like, oh, chase your dreams, it's okay to actually be in that moment and be like, I can't chase my dreams right now. Like that is not happening, because one day you are going to realize what pain it has caused you to not allow yourself to chase your dreams, whatever that may be. And in that moment, you will start your journey. And it's okay that it took that long.
Yeah, absolutely. Just maybe someone that will hear this and it will help them to decide that they can just dream again, and that it is one step at a time, one day at a time. It's not going to happen overnight, but it will happen one day, and it's one of the biggest questions I get when I do Akashic Record readings for people is they ask me, what's my purpose in life? And I love this because it actually gives people that epiphany of realization that we don't just have one purpose. We
Right.
all have multiple purposes every single day. It's not about what's your ultimate life purpose. It's about what's your purpose today. What is your goal, your dream today? Set your intentions today. And that's why you do 1% better every day. And then you actually feel into the gratitude. Oh my goodness, I've achieved this dream of going for a walk today, and your
Right.
vibration rises, you feel good, and then the universe brings you more reasons to feel better. And that could be your dream. It doesn't have to be this big, you know, idea of being a millionaire or
Right.
driving a Ferrari, or, that doesn't have to be your dream. Your dream can just be getting the simple stuff in life done and just being happy. So it's about the, if you can't do something today, just dream a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah.
I completely agree. I think we've been tricked into believing that these purposes that we all are born with, it's this one huge purpose, and that's it. Like that's what we have to do. That's who we have to be. And what is that? Oh no, I wasn't born with a purpose. And then I see a lot of people who really have fallen into a deep depression because they feel like they're purposeless. They feel like they don't have a gift. They feel like they weren't born with a passion that some of us feel like we were born with. And that is not what it's about. It is about each day. Like you were just saying, if your idea for the day, your goal for the day is to go on a walk, and you go on that walk, that was part of your purpose that day. You felt better after you took that walk. You connected with nature. You saw a bluebird and it inspired you. That is part of what our purpose is, those day-to-day things.
Yeah. So many just to get you to realize that, We do have to break down those paradigms of what we've been told, you know, the way that we've been made to believe that we have one big, you know, but doesn't that come from, you know, this whole system? You know, because you go to school, you go to college, and you go after one degree, one career. And that's, you know, this whole idea of the spiritual awakening, the spiritual journey, it's not about one thing. And if we can take the idea of, you know, when we dream big, it is not just one goal, it's not just one achievement, it's not just one purpose. It's about our daily learning to dream again and bringing that magic back, bringing that childhood like magic back into our everyday perspective. And yeah, it's consistent. It is consistent and consistent until it becomes natural. And then once it becomes natural, then the layers will stack and the karmic cycles will, and the quantum heal. It's like, then it will keep going and going. And it's all fun and games.
Absolutely.
Well, I want to ask you one last question. Is there anything you can tell us about any new albums coming out?
Yes. That is one of the things that I'm extremely focused on right now. And I don't know when in 2024 it will be out. Definitely towards the beginning. I will say what the title is of the album, which I definitely have not told anyone. I've told my mom. So my mom knows, but nobody else. But it's called Transmutation.
Transmutation.
Yeah.
That
So I'm really excited about it because I feel like I'm finally in a place, you know, of course, like every artist, every writer wants to write an album. And I've written bodies of work that I guess they're albums, but this is going to be different. This is, I feel like everything has led up to this, and I feel just very confident in sharing it to a different degree that I haven't felt before.
I mean, my goodness, it gives me butterflies. I'm so excited to just hear it because your music already has been so incredibly evolving and just brilliant, just brilliant. And I love that I'm the first one that you're the second one.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I have it written down a lot in my own little notebooks, but not anywhere out there. So yeah, well, that was good. That was good for me because now I'm like, you know, I feel like just as an artist, sometimes you're like, well, should I name it that? Should it be about that? But I feel like having the confidence to be like, yeah, this is what it's called. Yeah. Just kind of set it in stone. So it is being worked on currently. I will be recording it within the next month, 2 months. So just yeah, I'm not sure exactly when it will be out, but there's going to be a lot of great things in 2024, and I just feel really grateful that I have awesome, amazing humans like you that I feel excited to share this stuff with now. Whereas it's never felt like this before. Like I'm very grateful, very humbled. Like it amazes me that people are even listening to this stuff. Not in like a negative way of me like being down on myself, but it's just I can't even, it's just a magical experience. Like I feel just a gratitude that is really impossible to express in words. So I don't know. I just feel very like this is going to be very special. So, yeah.
I wanted to ask you if you had any albums in the works, and I was thinking she's got to, she's just got to. I wonder what next year is going to feel like for you. And the thing is that what I believe when we can't explain is that it's not words. You know, energy doesn't have a language, and
Yeah.
sometimes our when we want to explain these things that you can only purely feel, you can't
Yeah.
explain.
Yes, that's exactly how I feel. And yeah, it, that's, I just, there's no words. And I'm just excited to show my full self because everything has led up to these moments. And I feel like even in past songs, it's not that it was just a part of me, and it's not that it wasn't my full authentic self, but it was just who I was in that moment. And I feel like now I am taking all of the stuff that has influenced me throughout my whole life and putting it into this stuff. So different types of sounds from different parts of the world,
Mhm.
like tribal stuff and like orchestral stuff. And I, it's like, it's taken a long time to even feel confident enough to do that because I know that it's not going to make any sense, like in terms of like when you look at like a mainstream album, like I don't know what it's going to do, honestly. I don't know where it's going to go. I don't know what it's going to do, but I just feel very happy that I just have awesome people like you who, like your words and just your energy, it just makes me feel like, oh, this does matter. Like, oh, I can be a weirdo. Like, oh, like she's willing to listen to me be myself and is going to accept whatever that winds up sounding like. And that, again, no words can like express what that feels like.
That's so, I love hearing that. And that does, it makes me feel so emotional because what I just want people to feel is to learn that they should be able to express who they are. And
Mm-hmm.
it's um it's time. It's time that we all can move into that place where we can have those unfiltered, unscripted, natural conversations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like dimming your light and just be who you are. And it is time because we're all very unique. And like the world is not the same when you don't express your unique flares and when you don't express your truth the way that you truly want to express it. Like every person matters in that way, and every person's expression matters. And it inspires me. Like people's self-expression inspires me. So like this entire conversation, like I'm sure will find its way into one of my songs. I don't know how, but I know it will because this has inspired me because it's been two people that have just like let their guard down and like taken the masks off and actually were willing to have a truly open and authentic conversation.
Mm. That chapter, that is so, it's it's so needed, and it's time to express to the rest of the world that you can be you and soulfully, beautifully you without fear of judgment. And if that happens, then that's not on you. You know,
Like,
it's
what
not
are you
on
gonna do? People are gonna judge you anyway. Like, you might as well be judged for being your authentic self.
you. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Thank you so much for this. And I mean, I feel like I would love to do 1,000 more
I
conversations.
know, I love this.
I would love that. And I feel like it's, there's so much more that we could dive into. And, you know, just having this time with you, I felt really like I want to get to know you and the raw, real you without the music, you know, and because I feel like you just have this, the music side of you is your what your expression. But I feel like you have this enormous amount of teaching that you can provide the world as well. You know, there's like this massive, because it, you know, that comes with your music, I feel, as well. But that's yeah, I would love to do another episode with you and talk into some deep, deep teachings of,
I would love to talk again.
yeah, yeah, I would love that. Well, until next time, thank you all so much for being here. And there goes your release on the next album, the name, and fingers crossed we can schedule another conversation here. But until next time, everybody, thank you so much for listening, and we're going to wrap that one up there for now.
Thank you so much.